This AT&T outage story is a little bizarre to say the least. But before we begin this story, I do have a Cash App under Minutes of Horror if you'd like to support the channel monetarily. If you do not want to support the channel monetarily, you can always support by liking, sharing, and commenting on this video to help me move along in the algorithm. Any help is much appreciated. So at around 4 o'clock this morning, there were over 32,000 AT&T outages that were reported by customers. The reports dipped, then spiked again to more than 50,000 around 7 a.m., with most of the issues reported in Houston, Chicago, Dallas, Los Angeles, and Atlanta. But just before 8 a.m. Eastern Time, the number surged to more than 71,000 outages reported. Now what's odd is that these outages were not confined to just AT&T. There were a little over 1,100 T-Mobile outages and about 3,000 Verizon outages that were reported as of 7 a.m. Eastern Time today. As we continue to get updates to this story, we find that there are more providers that are reporting outages as well, including Cricket Wireless. The common theme among all these providers is that not only is it affecting mobile phones, but also home phones and internet as well. Another common theme among all these carriers is that they don't know what happened. What caused the services to go down? There are even some reports that it's not just the United States that has been affected by these outages, but also countries in South America and Australia as well. But only confirmed so far is it happening in the United States. But what could have happened? Now, when you sit back and look at the grand scheme of things, these outages happening to only 77,000 people, if not a little bit more, doesn't really seem like a lot given the fact that millions of people in the United States have these carriers. Given the numbers, this could pretty much look like a non-story, until you ask yourself, how did this even happen at all? We're not talking about one tower coming down in one location, it's affecting thousands of people. No, we're talking about in different parts across the nation, people lost their service. So the odds of something like this happening, even if it's only just over 77,000 people, and there could be more, some people might not be reporting it, is pretty slim. So here's the thing, while there is no 100% definite answer as to what caused these outages, those who are looking into it believe the answer lies within the sun. Around midnight, the sun released a powerful solar flare. Now, something like this has happened once before. A major solar flare interrupted AT&T service on August 4th, 1972. Long-distance phone communication was knocked out across several states. But again, that was in 1972, and AT&T learned from their mistake and redesigned their power system to make sure something like this would never happen again. Ryan French with the National Solar Observatory said on Twitter that the solar flare and the AT&T outage are likely just a coincidence. Some people are attributing cell network outages, AT&T, Verizon, and so forth, in the United States to last night's X-class solar flare, he said. However, flares only cause radio degradation on the day side of the Earth. As you can see below, the United States was not affected by the event, so it's just a coincidence. So going back in history, the only time AT&T and a solar flare are ever mentioned in one sentence is all the way back in 1972. And since then, they and other carriers have been fully prepared for a solar flare. You also have many others calling out meteorologists for reporting incorrect data, trying to tie the AT&T outage with the back-to-back solar flares, and they are saying that these are not related. The R3 shortwave radio blackout was on the wrong side of the Earth. Cell phones are also not in the 3 to 30 megahertz frequency band. Also, cell phones do not operate in the electromagnetic range that solar flares disturb via radio blackouts. So all in all, these back-to-back solar flares causing these outages is just something that's not likely. And these outages and these solar flares happening at the same time was just an unlucky coincidence. But do we believe in coincidences on this channel? Or is there something else happening here? Could we possibly be looking at some kind of beta test, a test run for a false flag event that brings down communications. This time, communications across the United States, no matter what carrier you have. They can predict when these solar flares are going to erupt. The solar flare erupts, they test these outages, and they blame it on the solar flare. They have these meteorologists blame it on the solar flare as well. But like I said, many are pushing back on the idea that it was the actual solar flare that caused these outages. Now, coincidentally as well, for a few months now, they have been putting in our head the idea of a cyber attack. China, Russia, Korea, bringing down the grid. How these countries were coming together to hack the United States infrastructure. Oddly playing out like our favorite movie, Leave the World Behind, which is not much of a movie, but more of a blueprint, but we'll get to that later. But a couple days ago, we were getting articles and news-related information that what to know about the Russian anti-satellite weapon that could launch to space this year, which Putin denies. If Russia used nukes to destroy United States satellites, home, electrical, and water systems could fail. Aviation, rail, and car traffic could come to a halt. Very scary right there. That is very, very scary. Imagine flying on a plane, satellites come down, and all these planes just drop out of the air. Very horrifying. Now, airlines would have to fall back on legacy systems and procedures, but given the sheer number of how much airline traffic there is today, accidents would be all but guaranteed. Cell phones could also stop working. What a coincidence. When it comes to automobiles, when it comes to cars, you might be saying to yourself, I don't have a Tesla, this does not involve me, I can still easily drive. The problem is when it comes to almost all modern cars today, almost all of them, they come with Bluetooth. And if you don't think Bluetooth can't be easily hacked, think again. Now, of course, Russia is going to come out and deny the United States report that Moscow plans to put nuclear weapons into space. Putin says that Russia opposes nuclear weapons into space, urges compliance with such agreements. Russia also states that the United States is being very naughty and not telling the truth. But as a person that just does YouTube and works for a living, how do I really know what's really going on? For all we know, all these countries that are back and forth on the TV are nothing more than just that. Just countries going back and forth for TV. Nothing more than the WWE. Because look at this. We have Russia, China, the United States, and all these countries attending the same forum. Because that is where the real power lies. So just to recap, we get articles coming out just a couple days prior to this event that Russia has nukes capable of taking out satellites in space, really harming the United States infrastructure. A couple days later, we get this solar flare. And then only a couple hours from that solar flare do we have cell phone service coming down. And they're blaming it on these solar flares. But again, it definitely sounds like some kind of test run. And again, we have seen this all play out in the movie that was pretty much scripted by Barack Obama, Leave the World Behind. Where in the movie, all of the United States enemies, whether it's North Korea, China, Russia, and so forth, come together to bring down the grid of the United States. Nobody has cell phone service. There's no electricity. Chaos ensues and leads to a civil war. I did an entire breakdown of that movie. And if you don't look at the signs and symbols inside that movie, then you're really going to think that Russia, China, and North Korea are behind all of the events that take place in that movie. But if you piece together all of the signs and symbols and what they're really trying to tell you, you will understand it's a certain brotherhood that is really in control of all of these events. That these events are scripted. The movie centered around a major cyber attack. Matter of fact, as I was creating this video, what has just come out is not only cell phone carriers, or phone carriers, but also pharmacies nationwide report outages in wake of a cyber attack. Change Healthcare said it has become aware of an outside threat on Wednesday morning, disconnecting their systems for security purposes. Pharmacies across the country are reporting delays to prescription orders due to a cyber attack against one of the nation's largest healthcare technology companies. So it looks like the script is playing out. But if this is just a test run to something bigger, or to a catastrophic false flag attack, is yet to be seen. Thank you so much for watching. If you like this channel and you want to see more, please subscribe. If you're already subscribed, please like, as any engagement does help the channel grow. Once again, thank you so much for your support.